Welcome, it's Barry Moltz. Have you been in business for a while? Have you kind of been going through the same routine day after day? Are you kind of in a haze? Do you kind of feel like you're sleepwalking, that you've lost your passion for your business? I know the symptoms, I see it all the time. We're here to help you get your business unstuck. So we got two great guests here today. We've got business strategist Carol Roth. She's coming out with a great new book called The Entrepreneur Equation. And we've got, of course, Mr. Mike Michalowicz. He's the toilet paper entrepreneur. And Mike, I really want to start with you because you really know how to tell people to shit or get off the pot. A lot of people are stuck out there. What's the first thing you do if you're trying to get unstuck?
The biggest thing is to recognize what you're doing today is not working and to acknowledge that. So when you're stuck, that is the clearest, strongest indicator you can get that you're doing something wrong. So when you're stuck, learn, recognize, doing something wrong, and then find an alternative and start trying an alternative. If you keep repeating what's not working, you'll stay stuck.
So Carol, is it hard to get people to realize that they really are stuck?
I don't know that it's hard to make them realize that they're stuck. I think it may be hard to get them to take action. There may be fear, there may be trepidation, there may be lack of cash. So I don't know that they are in denial perhaps as much as just not sure what to do.
So let's say, Carol, you get people unstuck, and then what folks always complain about, is that you're kind of on this roller coaster up and down. How do you what do people do when they're on this roller coaster? What's the best action to take?
Embrace the roller coaster. Put your hands up and go, wee! I mean, seriously, if you're going to be in business, it's a roller coaster. If you want the merry-go-round, don't be in business. Merry-go-round, it's called a freaking merry-go-round. It's merry. It goes round and round. Business is a roller coaster, and I think the best thing you can do is just go with it.
Understand there are going to be good times, there are going to be bad times. You just really got to use it.
Absolutely, Barry.
Mike, how do you advise people to handle the roller coaster, the whole thing up and down?
Yeah, you do have to recognize it's going to happen. The goal, though, is to extend the peaks and make the valleys really short. That's the objective. When you are in a valley, when things aren't working, that's a call to change. And the call to change is look back on what was working again. What were you doing differently now that has you down in the valley? Then try to repeat that. Or if you're doing the same thing and it's dying, that's again a call to action to try something new. So when you're down in a valley, you're doing something that's wrong. Look at your past successes and try to replicate them. If that doesn't work, look for new alternatives, but do not keep doing the same thing.
That's why I always like ribbons. We get so many ribbons when we're little and trophies, and I always go back to my trophies and ribbons so I can remember the time when things actually went well. I think you call it a time capsule, right?
I do. Now, the ribbons just brought up a story. I was in a horseback riding contest, and as a kid, I got a blue ribbon. I was all excited. Well, for kids, the blue ribbon's last place. So it was hysterical. For years, I was celebrating this until my mom told me I got last place.
Sometimes you got to take whatever you can
I
get.
just had
right?
to share that aside because that was my valley.
So Carol, there's a lot of folks out there saying, listen, you don't understand. I'm stuck because my business really is low or has run out of cash.
Right.
What do you do?
That's a great question, Barry. I think you just have to reassess your situation. You need to say, okay, I have no cash. I have a couple of options. One is I can become James Bond or MacGyver and try and make something out of nothing. Or say, well, gee, I'm going to look at the whole portfolio I have here and maybe it's time to get a job. And I think the most important thing they can do is really look at the risks and rewards and say, right now is what's in front of me good enough? Is there enough rewards, not just financial, but quality of life rewards for it to justify the risks? And if it does, then you're going to find a way to make it happen.
Mike, what do you tell people when folks are stuck and they've got no cash?
Yes, you touched on it earlier with the time capsule. Recognize about these peaks and valleys, this roller coaster ride. When you are at the highest point, I recommend write yourself a note motivating yourself for your lowest point. Because, and Carol mentioned this offline before, motivation comes from your inside. You can have external forces, but the decision's inside. And when you hear a message from yourself that's enabling, it'll get you rolling again. So when you're stuck, if it's no cash or whatever it is, look at your high times and open that note you left for yourself. And if nothing, it'll kick in your ass and moving forward again.
Yeah, but you can't take that note and you can't cash that at the bank. So you have to be aware of that too.
So it's really a balance. Well, we got some great advice here about getting unstuck. The first thing is you gotta find someone that's gonna kick you in the ass and get going. And then realize there's gonna be some kind of roller coaster. As Carol says, put your hands up and say, wee! And as Mike said, it's really important to have some kind of time capsule to remind yourself when times were good so you can get back to that place. And the third thing is, you have to remember that old saying. It says that quitters never win and winners never quit. You've got to remember, the winners, they know when to quit. Are you stuck? Do you have some ideas how to get unstuck? Write me at www.barrymoltz.com. I want to thank Carol and Mike for being on the show.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.